Okay, Denny Hamlin is in here next. He drives the number 11 FedEx Freight Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. Denny is a four-time winner here at Martinsville Speedway. And Denny, just talk about now that you're in the eliminator round. You know, you look like you got 3 tracks ahead of you that you're, you know your way around pretty well. Just talk about starting off at a place like Martinsville, obviously, where you've had a good bit of success, what that does for your confidence level.
Yeah, talked about it earlier this week, but obviously excited about being part of it, the Final 8. And, really these tracks were, statistically are my best racetracks and, in this chase. And so I'm pretty excited about our chances. We've obviously got a big obstacle ahead of us this weekend at Martinsville. And, we're just going to enjoy it, have fun, see where we all stack up.
All right, we'll take some questions. We'll go with Reed and then Justin. Reed, raise your hand there in the green shirt. And then Nate.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. Denny, with the current tire here, how important is tire management here? Is it as important as it used to be? And can you gain as much of an advantage long run by conserving your stuff?
Yeah, you can. I think, the tire life here is probably more important than it's ever been, probably. These cars, now that the are slammed on the ground, you don't have as much weight transfer, so it's harder to keep the tires on it. So I think that really it's every time we come here, there's some kind of rule change that makes you change your setup, and you keep having to keep up with that. And so we missed it here in the spring, trying a different kind of setup, and really didn't get any practice to back it up. And hopefully this time around, it looks like we got good weather tomorrow. So, I'm looking forward to going through the list and figuring out what we need to race well.
Go to Justin right here. Raise your hand, Justin, and then we'll go to Nate Ryan.
Denny, with the new format and the 8 drivers that are left, can you determine who a favorite might be at this point, or because of the new format, you can't?
Well, I mean, there's guys that have showed more speed than others, for sure, but, there's a lot of things that can happen between now and Homestead. One loose wheel, one crash pretty much takes you out of it. So, I mean, it doesn't matter how fast you are if you can't finish these races in a good position, a good finishing position. It doesn't matter how fast your cars are. You got to have all the pieces of the puzzle together now that you're part of the Final 8, because the 4 that move on will be the 4 that stand out, I believe, in this round. And so it's not going to be about surviving and backing your way into. I don't think anybody other than the race winners will be going into Phoenix thinking, okay, let's just have a solid week here and move on to Homestead. There is no more hanging back and trying to be conservative. From here on out, you've got to be fast.
We'll go to Nate, front row.
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Denny, there was a time here maybe 3 or 4 years ago where after a practice you said you were just looking at what the 24 and the 48 are doing. Has that changed a lot, like in the last couple of years? You mentioned that as they've changed the rules, every time you come back something's different and you don't maybe have the dominance you used to have. Is it no longer just a 3-driver race, and why is that if so?
I mean, you still do, simply because they still have great results. And if you've seen, really between the 3 of us, we've all had bad races here every now and then where, something's amiss or setup's not good and we just don't run well. But in the end, you're still going to be racing the same guys, in my opinion, no matter what the changes are, because they have a technique to get around this racetrack that it's going to make them successful, whether they're driving a cup car or a truck. So it's worked for them for so many years. It's just there's no turning back. They'll never be bad at this racetrack ever again. It don't matter what tire, what car. Eventually they'll figure it out. It's just a matter of whether they, if you have one of those off weekends or not. I considered the spring our one bad race here. Because we didn't have any practice and we had an experimental setup in, it just didn't work, and we thought it would. So with enough practice, I believe still it's going to be, the same old guys. I mean, there's other guys that are also really competitive, but they're not consistently competitive every single race here. Somebody, there'll be 2 or 3 others that'll be obviously very, very strong come race day. I think Clint will probably be one of the guys, not based off of anything today, but historically at this racetrack's been really, really good. And on these 4 drive type racetracks, his team seems to be pretty solid.
Question right back there, Jillian, gentleman right there.
Jordan Munder, Danville Register and B. You've had success here. You've won 4 grandfather clocks. It's a special weekend for the track, 50 years of presenting the grandfather clock as a trophy. So for you to be able to get your 5th in such a special weekend, what would that mean to you? And having won at both tracks in Virginia, being from Chesterfield, would this make it any more special than any of your other wins in Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, it obviously probably would be right up at the top as far as, favorite wins or best wins if you're able to get it this weekend. Not only that, because, you don't have to think about the rest of this round. You just then shift your focus to Homestead, which we all test at next week. So it would be very significant as far as on the list of my career, how high a win would be here. Not only for the historic reasons you talked about at this racetrack, but just the implications that it would mean for our race team going forward.
Other questions for Denny? Jenna, right here, front row, Julian.
Jennifer, AP, does it surprise you that Newman or Edwards has made it this far?
Not based off of the way they've been finishing. There's been a couple races where, you look back and you're like, oh, they're going to finish in the 20s, and then take tires late or something, they make a charge to the front. But they've really been as solid as anyone on finishing, and that's what's going to be the key this round, is finishing really similar to what those guys have been doing for the first 2 rounds. Breaks have to come your way for those things to happen. The cautions have to fall right for you. But I think that they've both done an amazing job with the speed of their cars, finishing, I think, better than what the speed of their cars are. So, they've done a great job. And really, I would consider them just as big a threat as I would, Brad or Joey or Kevin, simply because they seem to close really well at the end of these races.
Anyone else? Denny, thank you for coming in.
Thank
Good
you.
luck this weekend. Thank you.